Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about culture. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, should software engineering companies hire for culture fit or culture add? Well, I've always found these sorts of semantic, like micro semantic differences to be very silly, because what is the difference between culture fit and culture add? Well, the internet tells me that culture fit is someone who fits into a culture, and culture add is to hire someone that adds and diversifies or something like that to your culture. And to me, that's sort of like saying the same thing. It's really, really, really the same thing, in my opinion. But let's not dive into that. So let's just like frame it as you have a need for a change within your company culture, and now the question is, should you hire someone who complies, or like you who complies with, or it's not that necessarily that you need a change to the office culture. It is more, you are asking, should you try to find people who fit into your culture, or people who diversifies or adds to it? And this is where it gets so silly for me, because how would you do one or the other? How can you hire someone who adds to your culture but doesn't fit in? Or how can you hire someone who doesn't who just fits in but doesn't add to the culture? It's like saying that you have the same person, like it's a different individual. It's really down to where do you draw the line for what's adding to a culture, and what is complying with it, or like just fitting in. But the way that I usually talk about these things is that you can hire two types of people that's going to affect your culture. One is that you hire an individual for who they are rather than anything else, which is usually what you do in order for like a very for simple culture problems. It's something that you can do. And then you have the thing that we have still never really, I have never seen anybody do this effectively, which is to hire someone who can drive change in a office culture. I've never seen that happen effectively, because the average software company tries to solve this problem in a way that I always found to be so ineffective. But let's talk about the simple case first. So when I say that you have a simple culture problem, it is something like you don't have enough women, for example, or you don't have enough like ethnic, like nationalities or something like that in your culture. You want to diversify your workforce or something like that. The reason why this is a simple problem is because you can hire someone without any other considerations, as long as they are a nice person, they have the skills, etc., etc., and you hire that individual, then you have a unit of this person. So let's say that you're hiring women, for example. Now, getting women, I'm not saying that that is an easy thing. It's very difficult to find female engineers for everybody, but what I'm saying is that the problem that they have to solve for you is very simple. They simply have to be a woman, or they have to be someone from some other part of the world or something like that, right? And so once you have that person in, you have achieved your goal, right? Because no one's ever really been able to tell me anything about the benefits to diversifying the office culture, and like what concretely is going to get easier. The closest thing I've gotten, which I think is a fair point, but sort of brings the next question, is they've said that if you have women in the company, it makes it easier to hire future women, because apparently for a lot of female developers it's a big thing if they only get to work with men, or if they get to work with other women as well, at least in the engineering department. So that's a big thing in software development, right? And so that sort of brings me to the obnoxious question, like, okay, but so you hire a woman so that you can hire more women, but what is that actually changing in your culture? What's getting better with your culture? No one can really answer that usually, but it's a fair argument. You hire someone so that you can hire more of whatever they are. It doesn't matter if it's a woman or someone from a different nationality or something like that. And as I said, that is a simple problem, because once you have hired such an individual, you get the benefits. Now, the other problem, which I never really have seen a way of solving effective, or rather, I've never seen an effective solution to this problem from management in any company, and in every company, and I've never seen it, is to fix a problem that is truly complicated, such as commitment, sensation of ownership, innovation, things like that. I've never seen it happen, ever. Not a single time. The usual way, for example, that companies try to solve the problem of innovation is that they either hire someone who is quote-unquote creative, and that person usually hosts hackathons or does these obvious tiny little things that really, really, really never makes the difference. They never make the difference, ever. You could have just, actually the closest thing to a company that I truly respect for sort of understanding that, believe it or not, was an old company that I worked with, where they didn't try to make these silly little token benefits the main focus of why you wanted to work for them. They actually gave you things that you truly cared about, for the most part, which was you got paid leave during like vacation time and things like that. You had certain days where like the calendars were like sort of giving you these gap days where, you know, most of the week was free, but there was like 1 or 2 days due to holidays and scheduling and so forth that you would technically have had to work. They gave you that for free. And this is a company where like we're talking about millions in loss of like in salaries, because it was a very large company. This was very appreciated by all the employees. But the thing that nobody gave a shit about ever, and they actually had to, which is hilarious, they actually had to force people to go to the hackathons. Which sort of is interesting, right? If you have to force people to be part of innovation, are they really innovative? Is that really a good, like, I've always claimed this. The people who benefit from this stuff, guys, is usually the consultants that you hire to do the job. It's the same thing with Scrum, or Scrum Masters and so forth. You have been sold an idea that these people know how to solve your problem. They don't. They have no chance in hell to solve this problem, because they are as clueless about how to solve these problems as you, the higher management, are. The only time I've ever seen meaningful change happen in this space, ever, is when you have a highly talented individual, like usually engineer, 1 or 2 or like several engineers, highly motivated, highly talented engineers, and you can't create these guys. You can't, or girls, you do not create these people, you hire them. They are out there, they are bred from birth, and these people are the people who make the difference, the real difference. These people are the sorts of people who will go into any team and create a better office, like a better work environment for everybody in there. Because usually, guys, the reason why people are unhappy and uncommitted to your company, it has nothing to do with these once a month, like every year, whatever, like hackathons or things like that. That doesn't do shit for the average software developer. Most of them don't even care enough to actually want to be part of those things. You'll see it. You make that thing optional, and I promise you, the attendance will drop sharply. I've always seen it. It's the same thing with, you know, having these culture evaluations and like the studies or like forums and things like that, where most people don't even fill it out. I think the averaged amount of replies the HR department got in most of the companies I've worked in is between 30 to slightly above 50% replies to their surveys. Does that tell you something? Well, it tells you that people are here to work. They're here to focus on the thing that feels comfortable for them, etc., etc. And your approach will not work. It's never going to work. It's never worked for anybody. And the reason it doesn't work, as I said, is because you are trying to just convince people who have no incentive to help you to do something that they don't feel like doing. That's not going to work. What you will need is usually to hire the people who are there in the trenches with the people doing the work, and who can spot the issues and drive real meaningful change, and it usually starts at the code level. I've always seen this to be true in the engineering department at the very least. If you have unmotivated workers who doesn't give a shit about the company, it's usually because the code and the projects themselves are not in a state that they feel very happy with. And they feel no commitment to the code, and therefore they feel no commitment to your damn company. The reason why this is important is because most people who do a job are not inspired by these once in a lifetime events that, as I said, like the office Christmas party or stuff like that. It is the everyday stuff. It is the environment itself. If you if you work every single day in a garbage dump, and your selling point as a company to your employee is that one day per year you will go and sit and have a picnic with some strangers you practically never talk to, and then that's your argument for working here, like this is how you're going to fix it, it's never going to work. So you need people who are actually competent, really competent and driven and passionate to go in and actually fix the underlying issues in the code, the work processes, like how things work between the teams and so forth, because most of the reason why you lack these more inclusive, positive work environments has very little to do with that the people in the company are bad people. It has to do with that your company is structured in a way which makes it impossible to enjoy yourself while working in that company. And that always comes down to the same thing, and I've always said this, guys, the foundation of any healthy society is clean water and good food readily available at all times. Any other discussion until you have that is pointless, and it is the same for software companies. So what I want you to take away from this is that I think that should software hiring for culture fit or culture ed is like the most silly, ridiculous question in the world, in my opinion, because it is the same thing. How would you hire one or the other? Now, if you want to diversify, it really comes down to, do you understand the benefits of what you are trying to do? Most companies don't. Most companies, and it's the same thing with hire someone who's going to fit your company. If you don't understand the people that you are working with and what makes the difference, you're just going to hire someone that reflects your value system, which is usually what you do. And that's fine, because if you're just staffing up, the reality is, guys, that having more diverse culture within your company has no proven benefit to the output of your company. So if you only care about the bottom line, diversifying your work environment is really only helping the recruiters potentially, or like there are departments who will benefit from it, but the actual engineering department itself doesn't really change anything, because it's sort of, science is not about gender, it's not about culture, it is about results, about smart people coming together. And there are smart people, as I like to say, smart people it's not a culture or race thing, it is an everything, every country, every damn skin color you can imagine, every gender you can possibly say has smart people. There's no correlation whatsoever between diversity and engineering talent, but there are benefits, so you can absolutely go for it. The thing that I want to tell you though is that if you have a culture problem that you think you can fix by just hiring more women or more people from a different ethnicity group or like a nationality or so forth, that's an easy problem. You can always fix that problem, usually. The thing that you have that is never going to be fixed, usually, I find, it can be fixed, but it requires a level of talent that is beyond what most, even the people doing the hiring do not have the skills necessary to figure out if they're dealing with an individual, or how to find an individual or in a group of individuals who will be able to solve this problem for them. They can't even incentivize these people to come into the company if they have this issue to begin with. And that is to hire someone who can fix your lack of commitment, your lack of ownership, your lack of innovation, and your complete lack of anyone taking accountability and responsibility or going the extra mile for your company. Fixing these problems is beyond the average software company. The reason being very simply that you cannot inspire people by asking people who work on a shit system into believing that they are working in a good system. And that brings it back to the thing that I always say, guys. It all starts with the actual physical products and goods. Then it's like the need pyramid. It's the physical needs pyramid. If you think that you can take a top-down approach to inspiring people to be better than they are, and so forth, you are kidding yourself. It all starts with the foundation layer, which is number one. Your workers needs to like the environment that they are in, and the only way for you to make that happen is to have a system and a way of working which sort of breeds that sort of positive mindset and efficiency into your company. This is what the Google companies and Facebook companies and so forth, this is what they try to do. Technical excellency is the greatest and biggest benefit that you can possibly give to any IT company, and it is the bedrock, the foundation for everything that happens at the higher levels, all the way up to that people are just happy at work. Have a great day.